Hello everybody, my name is Chris Shivets and I'm a business development manager in BCC, and I will lead this broadcast and I'll tell you some words about our experience with HANA platform, with challenges connected to this platform, practical experiences we have gathered during our projects and lessons learned. At the beginning I would like to tell you that on the right corner of your screen you should have a chat window and you can type any questions there. I'll try to answer them during this webinar, and if I'll be not able to answer them or there will be not enough time, I'll answer them afterwards and send them by an email. Okay. So a few words about BCC. BCC is the largest SAP company in Poland. We have more than 19 years of experience, more than 200 of SAP consultants and projects all over the world, and more than 40% of our revenue is from services export, services not only in Europe but in the whole world. And as far as business intelligence is concerned, we've started it when SAP started SAP Business Warehouse, so more than 10 years ago, and we've done a lot of business warehouse projects, strategic enterprise management projects, business object implementations projects, and from 2013 we started our SAP HANA competence centers. Of course, we learned our consultants about HANA even before, but 2013 we installed our own hardware in BCC, our own demo systems, so now we are able to prepare demos, proof of concept, and train ourselves inside our company. So what is HANA? Because there's a lot of marketing fuss about it, and what it really is. The most important thing about HANA is that it's entirely in-memory solution, and it was developed as an in-memory solution. So when first databases were created, they were created from hard drives, and they were running on hard drives and selecting records from hard drives, and the whole solution was hard drive based and was optimized for reading from disk and writing to disk. Then when memory went cheaper, cache was introduced, and afterwards some flash-based disks were also introduced, so everything was quicker, and the databases were more performant, but inside the structure of the database was unchanged. So it was optimized for reading and writing to disk. And SAP HANA is different. SAP HANA is a database that was designed from scratch to work in memory. So it's optimized for reading and writing to memory. And in fact, to run SAP HANA doesn't need disks. They are only for persistence reasons. So if somebody switch off power, then the database state is preserved on disk. But to run HANA, you don't need disk. But HANA, it's not only about hardware and disk, it's also a lot of software innovation, and the most important one is a column store of tables. So till now, databases had their data in rows. So each table has thousands or millions or billions of records in rows, and the access was optimized for this row structure of tables. But a few years ago, some people thought about other structures, and for performance in reading, a column store was introduced, and some databases, just like Sybase IQ, can use column store. SAP HANA doesn't only use in-memory, but it also uses column store, and it can combine it with row store. So some tables can be in the old, so I would say classical, can have classical structure, and some can have the new modern column store. And the column store, it's very well suited to aggregate data. So for reporting, so for reading data, it's the best choice. And HANA goes even further. It can transform a column store table on the fly in a row store table when it needed, when it's needed. For example, for SQL joins. Of course, there are some more inventions in HANA. So the column store is very good for compression of data. SAP thought also about partitioning, and partitioning even for hardware. So you can have several physical servers for one huge HANA, for example, for HANA for BW. Yes, and aggregates and indices on databases are no longer necessary. So SAP HANA, it's not only a hardware innovation, but also a software innovation. And what's inside SAP HANA? The central part of SAP HANA is the SAP HANA database, but it's not only. SAP HANA platform consists of several elements, but the SAP HANA database, it's what's shown here. It can have the classical row tables here. It can have tables kept in column store, but it can have also views connecting tables, and views are just like, I would say, SQL joins, but they are very well suited for reading, for reporting. So in fact, if you have a lot of data in separate tables, to report them, you can create views and then report on these views. And these views can be analytic views, just simple joins, or more complex calculation views that uses also some calculation on the fly that's done when a report is called or when somebody reads a view. And of course, to access this database, one needs some clients. So there is a HANA clients through which you can administer and make some queries, select some data. But SAP HANA platform is more than just HANA database. HANA database is shown here. And SAP HANA platform, it's also a calculation and planning engines, and there are some more engines, but these are the most important ones that's embedded into a SAP HANA platform. So in fact, to quicken, to make HANA more performance, some calculation can be put inside HANA so that HANA doesn't need to exchange data between application server and database server, and make some calculation or planning functions inside SAP HANA themselves. So it's also a part of these libraries, calculation library and planning library. It's also a part of SAP HANA. And SAP HANA platform, it's also the ETL part. So in fact, these are real-time replication component and business object data services that's also sold with SAP HANA packages usually. And as I said before, the clients to access SAP HANA, the most important one, SAP HANA Studio, and SAP HANA Information Composer is a simpler one, just to get data inside SAP HANA from the flat file, so something for the unexperienced user. Okay, that's SAP HANA platform on the whole. How can you use SAP HANA? So in fact, you can use SAP HANA as a standalone platform database. If you have already running database, you can migrate it to HANA, and the application can run much quicker in real time and so on. Or you can create a new application on SAP HANA. As far as ERP is concerned, before you could just put a HANA standalone next to ERP and report on it, but then SAP HANA in 2012 introduced SAP HANA for data warehouse for business warehouse. It can be a database for business warehouse that makes the business warehouse quite a performant tool that runs reports 100 times quicker than before. And in 2013, the HANA for Business Suite was introduced, so ERP can be also hosted on SAP HANA database. And BCC is proud to be the first SAP partner in Poland that had a SAP HANA on ERP migration project. It was the fifth SAP HANA ERP migration in the world. We are finishing this project. These were both SAP Business Warehouse and ERP project. Business Warehouse is already finished, and the customer confirmed that we have done it very well. And ERP part is starting next week, but all the tests are already done and everything is prepared. It will be a success. Okay. As far as SAP HANA standalone is concerned, it's usually just a database with ETL tools to get data inside this database. And SAP HANA client that you can see on the slides is used both for administration and for data modeling. So you can model the data by creating attribute views. Attribute views are just views into master data, analytics views that connect transaction data with attribute views. And you can then create calculation views that are more complex and calculate something to be displayed and to be presented to a client. And you can as well create here analytic privileges, which are HANA authorizations to data. And you can create here also procedures that will be run inside HANA, just like procedures in any other database, Microsoft or databases. But this database is of course different. This database is in memory and can work with column store and row store. So how does such analytic view look like? It's just a connection between attribute views, you can see here, and the fact table, and then the creator of such analytic view orders the characteristics and key features so that they could be presented to a person creating a report on this. And how you can get to the data stored in SAP HANA, there is a lot of interfaces. There are more and more with each, I would say, quarter, because SAP is extending their interfaces, SAP is adding new ones, but you can use ODBO for example, MS Excel access, so you can access the data just using Excel. You can use, of course, business object, but it's it's only an example, and you can use ODBC, JDBC, so standard connection interfaces for external tools. So in fact, any other reporting tool can be connected to SAP HANA and use these interfaces, and it will work very well. And for analysis and to make the reporting with business object even quicker, SAP implemented its own BIX interface, but it's a proprietary interface, SAP interface, that runs between business object and SAP HANA to make the data exchange even quicker. Okay, perhaps I'll show you something. I have some more here Excel, and I have connected to the SAP HANA data. It was quite simple. Yeah. Okay, I have this connection, and now I can use pivot table to see the data, and perhaps to oops. Okay, I'll do it a bit later because I don't remember my password now. But I connected to the data, I refresh it, and you could refresh it on the fly, and it works very well. So the easiest way to connect to SAP HANA would be just to connect it with Excel. Okay. So SAP HANA standalone is very useful. You can create your own application here that that run much faster than the standard applications, and So if the application that needs really a database performance or calculation performance, you can use HANA and it will run very quickly. But what about your SAP system? And I'll switch to SAP Business Warehouse on SAP HANA and SAP ERP on SAP HANA. I'll tell you what's changes when you migrate to SAP HANA and what such a project looks like. So if you want to check how SAP BW on SAP HANA will work, you can make a small proof of concept project, just migrating a small set of your data, for example, the largest info cubes or data store objects, to check how it will behave on HANA. It's not needed, but you could do this, and BCC has its own HANA demo hardware, so we can make such a proof of concept projects, and we've already done that for some of our clients. Okay. SAP Business Warehouse HANA migration. It's a project that consists of two elements. The first is just upgrade, Business Warehouse upgrade. It should be now. It should be an upgrade to version 7.4, and then a database migration. So, in fact, you need to upgrade the BW system, check whether everything works, test it well, and then do the migration and check it again if everything works. But in fact, in the projects we have made for Business Warehouse migration, we haven't encountered any important issues. The projects were very smooth and quick, so within a few months you could close such a project and get the gains of it. So what changes after Business Warehouse migration to SAP HANA? The first thing you can notice is the name of the database. It's HANA database, HDB. The cubes are converted, should be converted. In fact, it's one of the migration process to SAP HANA optimized, and the same is about DSO objects, so data store objects. So in fact, the structure inside Business Warehouse is simplified because they do not need to be optimized just like they were before, kept in several separate tables. They are translated to column store in HANA database, and that's it at the beginning. But and everything, of course, runs quicker. And perhaps I'll show you such a HANA database. So it's a SAP BW system running SAP HANA. And perhaps I'll show you some cubes. Okay, it's an DSO object with 60 million of records. Normally, it wouldn't be possible to report on it, at least to report on it without indices and without limiting by filter the data set to be reported. Even 10 million of records could be sometimes a limit for free reporting, but 60 million of reports is really a huge data amount. But in fact, since this is on SAP HANA, although it's on our demo system and it's virtualized, it runs very smooth. And I'll connect to the data in a moment. Oops. Okay. So I used Business Object Explorer to connect to the data. In fact, I connected to only a selected year of this data, so it's not the 60 million of records, but 40 million of records. But it would run similar with 60 million of records. So in fact, you can filter it and dice and slice through the data online. I just select one plant. And it works, the selection worked. I can put here, perhaps I'll just choose only one currency. I'll report not the margin, but the revenue and the cost of sales, perhaps. Okay. So I've changed it and I can look for something, for example, for a sales, which product was the best seller in this plant in the year selected. So I could perhaps just, yes, it's by quantity, but I would like it to be by revenue. So this product is the best from a revenue point of view. It has the largest revenue. I can, of course, not only see the amount, but also the percentages as for the sales quantity, for the revenue percentages, and for cost of sales. So I could drill the data and do it everything online in real time on this 40 million of records. Now only 13 is selected because it's only one plant and one currency, but it can be changed. So I'm working on this huge amount of data online, and it's possible thanks to HANA. Okay. So, as I said, SAP is saying that the performance gains will be about 10 to 1,000 times as for reporting is concerned, 5 to 10 times as planning and data loading. And in fact, our measured speed on real project, it's more than 5 times quicker when data loading, even sometimes 10 times. And as for reporting, it depends on the record, but the most complex reports that we're connecting data on the fly between two info cubes that run almost an hour at our client's system were quickened more than 40 times, and these were reports that couldn't get full gain of HANA because they not only read data but connected data through the info set, so that connecting the data selected from HANA was the drawback here. Otherwise, it would be more than 100 times quicker. But these are huge performance gains. So BW on HANA, it's a better performance as far as reporting is concerned. Loading time, and loading time can be sometimes very important when you don't have enough time to load your data during the night. It can be a really important factor. Of course, fast planning is also faster. The migration project is very smooth and quick, can be done quick and without any change from application side. But then you can have additional gains of implementing HANA under BW. This is simpler maintenance. In fact, the data flow can be much simplified. The user doesn't have to have, and also the administration doesn't have to maintain the additional info cube layer. Everything can be reported on DSO object, because in fact after SAP HANA migration, info cubes and DSO objects in BW run with the same speed, so you don't have to keep your data once in DSO objects for line items and then for the aggregated data in info cubes for reporting, because you can just report on line items. So it's so performance that you don't need info cubes anymore. So you may have less effort on maintaining the data flow, changing it, reloading data, and a lot of gains through implementing of SAP HANA. And from the business point of view, it's the flexibility that's important. So the business users can report on one data source on line items. They don't have to have separate data sources, just aggregated data and line items. They don't have to ask IT specialists for aggregates building and other, for example, indices to make the report performant. So they can build their reports without IT being involved. So it makes better self-service, and if they require a change in a data warehouse, the change can be implemented quicker because the maintenance is quicker, so they can get the results quicker and have business benefits of this. So in fact, for me, business warehouse on SAP HANA is the must. If somebody has a business warehouse, sooner or later he will migrate to SAP HANA because it's much better. it's more performant, and it was something that Business Warehouse was lacking against in competition. It's a very good tool to manage data and to have enterprise data warehouse, but sometimes Business Warehouse was too slow. Now with HANA, it's very performant. It can have huge amount of data, big data. It will run smoothly, and the maintenance is simplified. So it's for sure a way to go. Okay, what about ERP systems on SAP HANA? So in fact, if you are not sure whether to go for ERP system on SAP HANA or not, you can order a free of charge business suite analysis. It's called Business Scenario Recommendation for SAP HANA, and you can order them on www.suiteonhana.com site, and it's quite easy. In fact, at first you have to gather some data from your SAP system. It's a job that will take SAP administrator about 20 minutes or so. And then upload the file with data usage, and SAP will analyze it and prepare a business scenario recommendation document in PDF format that will depict what gain with the current use can SAP HANA bring. So which areas will be quicker, which new transaction will appear. It's something that can be done very quickly. You can get it free of charge. And it, in fact, the presentation, perhaps I'll show one. Okay, a presentation, perhaps I'll show how it works. Okay, so to order it, you should get your data from ST03N transaction. I mean, the administrator can prepare the data and upload this file on this www.saphanasuite.com and upload the file, and then one will receive the presentation in an email presenting in which areas the SAP HANA for Business Suite can help, and presenting in which areas it won't help. For example, here research and development. And for each area, it will be shown how much relevance HANA for this area has. So for accounting in finance, financial close in this area, it has a huge impact, and you can have details about it, the description, what will change, and in fact even more details with transactions that will be speeded up or new one. And this will be done for each area, and some more description about the influence of SAP HANA will be given in such a report. Okay, this report, as I said, it's free of charge and prepared by SAP for each customer that sends the system usage data to SAP. But it's only, I would say, one side of SAP HANA Pros, because of course it's, I would say, it can show only where SAP HANA will, when will benefit on SAP HANA with the current use. But with SAP HANA you can go into new areas such as predictive analysis, such as some new transactions that are not used, and some SAP new functionalities that are available only on HANA. So this sometimes in this report will be not shown, as it's based on your current usage of your subsystem. So okay, so to prepare to make a SAP HANA migration for ERP migration project, you have to divide this project into two steps. SAP is working on connecting these two steps into one step, but for huge platforms, as for now, it's not recommended. So usually you'll have to do two steps. One is the upgrade to ECC 6.0 enhancement package 7, and then after we upgrade, you do the database migration to SAP HANA Service Pack 7 now, because yeah, now Service Pack 7 is the current Service Pack. Okay, so this project, it's much more complex than the BW project, because it's the upgrade itself, it's more complex. You have to test a lot of things in live SAP ERP system. So and usually it's only a small change from ERP 6.0, because most of our clients are already on ERP 6.0 to enhancement package, but in fact it's a lot of testing and a lot of changes can occur, small changes, and you have to take it into account when preparing such a project. And then the migration, it's usually a small change, but you have to take this into account. And in this part, it's not only about basis migration, but also about optimization for HANA. So during this part of project, you can think of using some new functionalities that are available only on HANA. Perhaps change some functionalities, so you have to change it as well. One thing one should think before starting such a SAP HANA migration project is that if you have a dual stack system, ABAP and Java connected, you have to split it into two systems, because only ABAP stack can be migrated to HANA. If your system is not Unicode, the Unicode conversion should be done beforehand. Only 64 bits platform are supported for SAP HANA. But what's most important, it's the add-ons. One should check whether the add-ons are prepared for the usage with such enhancements package 7, because not all add-ons are prepared for that, and some of them will have to be upgraded beforehand, before the upgrade to SAP enhancement package 7. So you have to be very careful with the add-ons, especially with third-party add-ons. I don't know, for example, OpenText. when doing such a project. After migration, what changes? The database shrinks. So in our example, we migrated a database which was 2.5 terabytes. The migration, it was less than 600 gigabytes, so quite a good compression. And I can see a question: what is the recommended way to start with SAP HANA initiative? I'll try to answer that at the end of my webinar. What changes? In fact, when you migrate SAP HANA to SAP ERP system to SAP HANA, the first thing you can see is, of course, the database system that changes. In fact, if you haven't switched on any new functionalities that are available with SAP HANA, you don't see application changes. Apart from that, but everything runs quicker, and you don't have to run jobs in batch input because everything can run online. New reports, they are working very well, and there are some new reporting transactions, but the old one works as well. And from a technical point of view, there are no cluster or pool tables that were used to be and that are normally present in SAP systems. And this cluster and pool tables are transformed to normal tables during database migration. So the system runs even more performant because of this cluster and pool table transformation, because these were the tables that were really poor as far as performance is concerned. For example, the most important tables in FI, the PSEG, the line items in FI were just such a cluster table that were very bad for reporting and for reading, and that's why the indices are used in many reports. After SAP HANA migration, you could use reporting directly on this table. As far as modifications are concerned, it's not the database migration, but usually the upgrade may require some small changes to these modifications. And what are the gains of migrating to a SAP HANA platform for ERP system? A lot of them is declared by SAP. For example, report speed improvement, quicker MRP runs, and new transaction for master data read, and so on. In each area you can see some important improvements, and we have measured some improvements by our clients, and they're really huge. Perhaps I could show you a report running on such as SAP HANA system. So this is SAP HANA ERP system with HANA database, and I'll run a standard transaction for line item in general ledger reporting. So as you see, it's running, it's reading the data. It's not much data here, I think 70,000 of records, so it will cope with that. If there were more records, and it's usually the case of our customers, it wouldn't run with this selection. One would be forced to make a lot of filters to be able to see something. But this, because there is not so much data in this demo system, will run and will get the report at the end. But the same data can be reported with new transaction with H like HANA at the end, and I can get the result immediately. The report is written a bit differently, so that it automatically aggregates data if it has it uses the selection of what is displayed. So it shows how many records it's aggregated, but the report is performant even without aggregation. And to show it, perhaps put a document number here, so it will force the report to disaggregate. So you've seen that the new report is much more performant on SAP HANA, and even the old one was much more performant on the SAP HANA system than on a normal. It would be on a normal system, but the new line item reports are 1,000 times quicker. So it's really something that could change your reporting way, and a lot of people could report on line items as they like they used aggregated data before, because SAP HANA aggregates the line items so quickly that there is no limits on reporting on line items. Okay, it's only the one of the gains of SAP HANA, the reporting, but of course it's important as well as other gains. For example, if financial close can be quicker, some MRP runs can be quicker, so there are a lot of other business gains you could get of migrating on SAP HANA for an ERP system. Okay, but with a project for SAP HANA for Business Suite, apart from migration, you would do optimization, and it's not only a standard basis optimization for a database, it's also optimization on the SAP HANA with the HANA client level, and you can optimize on the application level for switching some business functions, and this is implemented so you can switch them, or you don't have, and you have to do this because the new functions sometimes changes some logic in your application, sometimes changes some screen, so you can switch it, test it, and if you want it, you can leave it switch on. And if you don't want any change, you can don't switch it. You are not forced to use the new functionalities that brought with SAP HANA. And what's important here, you can switch it, you can test it, and you can switch it off. All the business functions for HANA are reversible. And sometimes, although our tests show that all ABAP code after migration of SAP HANA that was written run quicker than before, but if you want to run it even more quicker, you can do some optimization in your code just to put more pressure on the database and less on the application server usually, so that your own programs run quicker. And there is a lot of standard tools that you were used to analyze jobs and transactions, which and their performance. You can use them after SAP HANA migration to test where you can optimize the system even more. So what's very important with SAP HANA migration projects is the project management. In fact, in our SAP HANA for ERP migration project, since it was the 5th project in the world, we involved SAP in our project, so we get the high priority project program, and we had SAP Poland and SAP from Germany and from Waldorf direct cooperation and involvement in any issues. We had also the involvement of the hardware partner, because for SAP HANA you usually need certified hardware, so that's provided together with the system and SAP HANA installed. So the close cooperation between the implementation partner, customer, SAP and hardware partner is needed for the project to be run smoothly and without any issues. And lessons learned were to get the hardware with the latest SAP HANA patches, because if the hardware provides the certified servers, but with older SAP HANA patches, the implementation partner will need to upgrade the patch level, so it will take time and slow the project. The add-on are very should be very thoroughly checked whether they will be upgradable and will not conflict the migration. The hardware should be checked very thoroughly, because there is, for example, a lot of memory in the hardware. So if one memory one part of the memory is failing, the whole system can be unstable. So it should be very well checked. And as usually with upgrades, the migration project should be kept short to avoid unnecessary changes, because SAP HANA patches are very often new SAP HANA patches. So if your SAP HANA migration project is too long, perhaps you'll have to test something once more with new SAP HANA patches. And as usually, you have to restrain some system changes during such a project. Okay, and SAP HANA system only for database servers. SAP application server will be just a normal system, so usually virtualized. And as for SAP HANA, for now, till now, you could only virtualize the test and development system, but now the virtualization of the production system is also allowed, but only one virtual machine for a physical machine. So it's a limit, but and there's now 1 terabyte limit as far as memory is concerned, but SAP within the next year will overcome that limit. Okay, so where does SAP HANA goes? It's in fact it's millions of new possibilities that were impossible without this hardware. So a new analytics is possible, that the reporting without reporting, as I showed, reporting on millions or billions of records within on time or in real time, but new SAP HANA products, just like predictive analysis in real time, are possible. So a lot of new possibilities is coming, but at first you should think about perhaps the most important improvement to your existing system. So for SAP HANA user, the benefits for business warehouse, the speed of reporting, data loading, administration effort, less data layers in data model, and better cooperation with end users is possible. Business suites on HANA, it's also a lot of gains, better transaction response execution time, new transactions, new functionalities. For example, SAP is developing a ERP system. There are some new developments that are accessible only when you are on SAP HANA. So for example, SAP New Accounting powered by SAP HANA, SAP Cash Management powered by SAP HANA. And you can report in real time and report on line items. There's a lot of changes, and you can report also on the SAP HANA underneath the ERP system. The solution is called SAP HANA Live, and it's furnished with for each SAP HANA ERP user, so it's free for the ERP user. So the reporting is not only possible from the ERP level, but also from SAP HANA itself. And to sum up, why people are not migrating for SAP HANA on ERP, it's mostly because of inertia, because these systems are critical, and sometimes one thinks, what is the need for speed? And most of people is waiting for other customers to check whether it really works. But in fact, I see a lot of pros for SAP HANA migration. The analytics, in fact, the real-time reporting, it's something that opens new possibilities of reporting. There is also some, each client will find some influence on its current systems that can be found with that business scenario recommendations for SAP, business bottlenecks, just like reading data inside business warehouse or financial closing can be reduced. And there are user cases just like that weren't present before, so you can imagine new predictive analysis or reporting with Lumira that wouldn't be possible without SAP HANA. And in fact, SAP HANA has to succeed, according to me, and in 10 years' time, nobody will remember the classical database that ran on disk. Every database will be memory-based, and for SAP system, I'm sure it will be SAP HANA. Okay, thank you very much. If you have a question, you can ask them now, and I'll try to answer the question I got till now. So, what is the recommended way to start a SAP HANA initiative? I would say it depends. If you think about SAP HANA for your existing SAP system, I would say if you think about BW, I would go for it immediately, because Business Warehouse, it's all about easy reporting, and with SAP HANA, it's just a different warehouse. It's so quick and it's so easy to maintain. you don't have the bottlenecks you had before with slow data import, with when you needed to reload some data, it took sometimes 4 days. Now everything is quick. It's not only the reporting that is possible to be run on DSO objects and online items and on milliards of records, but it's also the changes that are usually when you have business warehouse for several years, the changes are very important because you have so much developed till now, and there are also some changes needed. So I think with BW, I would check the price of the licenses and perhaps the servers as well, and would go with such a project immediately. With SAP ERP on HANA, I would start from this scenario recommendation from SAP to get perhaps some more knowledge in which area of my ERP system SAP HANA will bring the most important gains. I would think about this and perhaps wait to be able to take the decision whether I really need HANA now or perhaps within a year. And of course, it's SAP HANA migration. It's also sometimes about the servers. So if you invested a lot in your current servers, perhaps you won't consider migrating to SAP HANA immediately because you have made an investment into your server, and you would like to. And for SAP HANA, you need certified servers. And there are some possibilities to overcome that problem. You can get SAP to test your server and to check whether it will be good for HANA as well, and what changes to your existing servers would be needed to use it for SAP HANA. So you can use at least part of your hardware investment, and of course you can use some hosting, for example in VCC, when you don't want to invest in hardware. But as I said, I don't think the question is whether to go into SAP HANA or not. I think the question is whether to go for SAP HANA immediately or not. Okay, if you don't have any question now, thank you very much. And if you come up with any question or you want to contact us, just contact Aleksandra Borucka through email, and if there are some questions, I'll try to answer them through email as well. Thank you very much. This webinar is recorded and will be accessible also on our website, so you can see it later once more.